I'm out in an empty lot. An empty lot. Why the hell am I in an empty lot? Well, I'm in an empty lot for a good reason. When I was growing up, I was actually born in the desert. I was born in Arizona, and when I was born, there was a lot of empty lots. 1965. There was a lot more empty lots than there is today. And I spent a lot of my time as a kid cruising around empty lots and looking for things to do as a little kid. Yeah, I'm out here with the dog, by the way. How you doing? Hey, NYC Korean MGTOW, how you doing? Long time no see. Yeah. No, I've been thinking, my man. I've been thinking about a lot of stuff. So, in planning a new project, a big new project. So, for my life, yeah, dude, I've been very well. Oh my gosh, I've been great. I had a cold. I had a really bad cold for about a month, but I've been good. Hey, hey, thanks, thanks, guys. What is it? Aldos has said, "What a miracle! Great to have you back." Thank you very much. It's great to be here and see you guys. You know, it's like it's something I've been thinking here for a lot of stuff. So I'm not going to go into what I've been thinking about. I'm working on a project right now, and it's pretty exciting if you ask me. But I'm kind of thinking. I'm just sitting here today. I'm sitting here looking. I was looking out the window, and going to take the dog for a walk. And I looked out the window, and I'm watching this empty lot next door. And I kept getting more and more curious about this empty lot. And I started to think back when I was a kid. I don't know about you guys, but what do you feel like? What makes you curious? You know, hey, thumbs up. Thank you, man. What makes you curious, or what kind of like gets you thinking about stuff? You know, what's up, blind man, MGTOW? This is an empty lot, right? So a lot of people, I think especially consumers and women and this and that, they look at an empty lot and there's nothing here. You know, they just see an empty lot. It's like, what a boring place to go, you know? Who would go to a freaking empty lot, you know? But for me, I when I was a kid, I used to go around these empty lots and I would look at everything. And I would look at everything and I would kind of think about, you know, as a little kid, right? You're just kind of looking around, you're looking at stuff. I'd see this is like part of a wall here. So I'd start to think, man, I wonder where that came from. Like, I wonder if somebody dumped this here, you know, like, looks like this was dumped here. Yeah. So I was getting curious. I'd get curious about stuff, you know? And I remember finding stuff and kind of discovering mysteries as a kid, just by looking around at stuff, right? You can see now, if we look here, hey, come on. Bring the old dog here. We're taking the dog for a walk too at the same time. And interesting here in this empty lot, right? What is here? Okay, here we go. Here's somebody left a part of a sofa, right? Looks like some kind of a pad from a sofa. So basically somebody basically didn't care about the environment, didn't care about other people, because obviously there's houses right here, right? There's houses. And then some dude just dumped that garbage there, right? So somebody didn't worry about what anybody thought enough just to leave garbage here in the middle of the empty lot. And that teaches me something, because, you know, I wonder if I worry about others' needs and concerns enough, you know, or would I just leave something in the empty lot, right? Let's see here. I caught the highlights this morning. Looked like a boring car. Let's see. Oh man, empty lot would be decent for my pals. We'd have a lot of fun. Exactly. Yeah, this is actually the dog I'm taking care of. It's kind of becoming my dog, and it's a super awesome dog. It just had cancer, so had surgery. You can see. Let's see if we can see here underneath him here. He had surgery about probably a month and a half ago, 2 months, less than that, and he's up and running though. He's cruising. So we're kind of taking him out here and getting him back in the swing of things. He's a great dog. I like this dog. He's quite an interesting dog because he doesn't immediately like you. He's the kind of dog has to kind of get to know you, you know, you have to earn his trust, right? You know, some dogs are stupid. They just kind of like everybody, right? This dog is quite intelligent, and he just kind of, you have to kind of win him over, right? You have to win him over by being a good person, basically. Okay, so let's see what else we can learn here. I was watching Richard Feynman, my fucking favorite guy in the whole world. This morning, I was watching him talk about curiosity and talk about oxygen and carbon and trees. And it got me thinking about these plants out here because I can see this out the window where I'm staying right now. So it got me thinking about stuff. So I want to see, some bonehead left this garbage here yesterday or just the other day, just left this sofa here. Somebody dumped this here in the middle of the park in the empty lot. That's quite interesting for me. What kind of person would dump a sofa here in the middle of a public place? You know, like what kind of individual would think this way? Would just think, oh, I'll just I got something in my house I don't need, so I'll just dump it in the middle of somebody else's location, right? And then let them worry about it. You know, what kind of a person would do that? You know, post-apocalyptic Fallout game. Yeah, so I'm thinking here, I'm looking at this empty lot, right? I've been taking the dog walking here, been kind of trying to, getting a bit curious about it. Because when I was a kid, man, an empty lot to me was like a fucking palace, man. I'm serious. I just loved looking at bugs and animals and trees and water and dig holes and shit. I figured out this little road here, right? This road here, what this is basically, this is a shortcut. So the roads were badly designed here. So in order to go from over there to go to over here, you have to kind of go way, way around there. So nobody wants to do that. So they just cut across here. So it's kind of like the difference between design and user experience, So if I was a city planner, I would look at this road here, take this road seriously, right? And I would make a road right here because this is obviously where people like to drive, And yeah, buried treasure, man. Fuck yeah, you never know what you're gonna find when you look around the world, I tell you, I read this really touching article this morning. It was written by a woman, but it was really nice. She was saying that her dog died, and she was saying that before the dog died, the dog started to stare at her. For like 2 weeks, the dog would just look at her super seriously, like just kind of look in her eyes, and she couldn't figure out what the hell was wrong. She tried to give it food, she brought it to the doctor, gave it antibiotics. The dog just kept staring at her, and what the dog was doing was the dog was giving her a message that he had a huge tumor that she didn't know about, and the dog died soon after that. But the dog was giving a message, right? And she felt terrible about the fact that she didn't notice it. And I think part of life, what makes life interesting, is noticing the small things in life, just noticing, because I think a lot of people these days, they just need like big entertainment. They can't just look at the simple things in life, And for me, a lot of the interest in life is the simple things, It really is. It's a lot of the most interesting things. Like for me, the most interesting thing is not a movie written by some Hollywood executive, but it's much more is like the laws of physics and life itself, and kind of understanding more about things. Like I feel like my life is, one of my goals in life is that my mind is so curious and I'm so educated that if I was in prison and all I had was a window to look out for the rest of my life, I had a life sentence or something, I could totally enjoy myself and look out at the world and understand nature and look at carbon and oxygen and plants and energy and atoms and be able to be completely entertained and actually fulfilled by just looking out of a simple window, just by being able to see the sunrise and to be able to see life itself, which is basically this planet, right? What we're kind of experience here on this world, on this earth. It was this series I watched this morning about Richard Feynman was super interesting. Basically saying that, hey, Timmy Kramer, how you doing, man? Hey, thanks for that email. Sorry I didn't respond yet. I'm very well, and I've been thinking about a lot of heavy stuff. So I'm planning a big project. So right now I'm writing up a business plan. I kind of turned down this offer that I had to go back to Asia, and I'm considering what I want to do, and I've got a plan. And right now I'm writing up the skeleton of this plan, and then I'm going to present it to a couple of investors and talk to them about what I want to do. So it's pretty big project. So it's going to take a little while. And as with most projects, you never know if they're going to be successful. But that's what I love about life, is that, you know, when things aren't guaranteed, I like never, anybody knows me, knows I never get a job, you know. I'm always like coming up with ideas, planning them out, presenting them to people, and see what happens, you know. Sometimes the people I present to are clients, once in a while investors, usually not investors, because I don't like to get investors money that much. I prefer to, hey, thanks, Timmy. Yeah, cool beans, man. Yeah. Yes, I was watching this Richard Feynman documentary on Curiosity. I'll put the link below. It's really worthwhile, guys. This is like, I mean, for me, this is like so worthwhile. But basically, he's talking about carbon, oxygen, and the cycle of life, like how the whole thing works. And you know, just simple things like, if you have something that's hot, right? Let's say you have a hot cup of coffee, right? The reason why, do you know why it's hot? Do you know what that means? What is hot? Hot is that the atoms are jiggling around fast. So the colder something gets, the slower the atoms jiggle around, right? So when you take something hot, okay, like a cup of coffee or whatever, and you set it next to something else, the other thing slowly becomes hot too, right? What happens is the energy, the bouncing atoms, they bounce off the other atoms and they make the other atoms move. And so the energy transfers from one jiggling atom to another jiggling atom. So the same thing when you drop a ball on the ground. When you drop a ball on the ground, the ball bounces on the ground, and the ground, when it, like, just like when you pound a hammer, you create heat. When you pound a hammer, it gets hot. You know, pound a nail, it gets hot. When you drop a ball, the little bit of heat is dissipated down into the ground, and those atoms start to move a little bit faster. So the ball moves a little bit slower, the atoms in the ball, but the ground moves and the ground heats up from those jiggling atoms. So that's how energy basically transfers from one thing to another. And it got me thinking, and I watched the second one, he talked about atom, carbon, and oxygen, and basically how essentially any plants, I was going to come out here and look at a tree, but there's not that many trees, how a tree basically gets almost all the tree comes from the air, not from the ground, like a lot of people think. The only thing that comes from the ground is basically water and a couple of nutrients, but even the water comes from the air, and then it gets dissipated into the ground, right? So it's quite interesting how I just gonna quick tell you the story I heard this morning, Feynman, and I really never thought about it, but how fire starts. Is that basically how a fire starts? Let's say here, these plants here, is that they're mainly carbon, right? Plants are carbon, right? And carbon and oxygen, they like each other, right? And so carbon and oxygen, when carbon and oxygen start to bond together, okay, maybe there's some heat that creates the atoms move faster, and then one bonds with the other, and then click, another one bonds, and another one bonds, and another one bonds. And what that does is then it creates all kinds of energy when the oxygen bonds with the carbon, because oxygen loves carbon, loves to bond with carbon. So you take the oxygen from the air, it starts to bond with these plants here, and then as it bonds, each atom bonds, it creates heat, and then that basically is a fire. So then the fire burns, and the things are separated, and it goes through the whole cycle again, you know. So it's quite interesting. It's just life is so interesting. And I'm always amazed when I talk to, let's say, younger people or women or whatever, and they're saying like life is boring. And I think the only reason why life could be boring is that someone is not interested in how life works or what life is. You know, I don't know if you've taken any geology course, but if you study geology at all, it's quite interesting, right? It's how the rocks move. Now, what happened to let's see here. Okay, just a second here. She got the dog. Okay, just a second here. The dog's out there in the car. Okay, all right, all good. Yeah, I'm out in an empty lot here in Las Vegas, and cruising around, and I'm thinking about curiosity, and I was talking about atoms and carbon and oxygen and how life works. And I remember when I was a kid, I used to look around places like this, and I would look around and I would see things like, even like this here. You see this shit here, right? And I would look at the shit and I would think, I wonder what kind of shit that is. Like, I wonder if that's a, a coyote, or I wonder if it's a bear, I wonder if it's a snake, I wonder if it's a raccoon. And I would look at the shit and I would start to figure out, like, what kind of animals live in this area. I remember when I was a kid, I would always look down. I remember some of my teachers used to make fun of me because I was always looking down. I was always looking down at the ground, trying to figure things out, because I didn't learn that much looking up. I mean, I didn't know enough about science to understand the earth, the sky, but I could understand what I saw in the ground, and I would just kind of look. Oh yeah, underwater. Oh man, that's another topic. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Denzer 1282. Yeah, for sure. Looking underwater is fucking fascinating. And actually, a lot of the earth has been underwater at different points. So that's another issue, is a lot of the sediment in dirt like this is from the sea. So it's not uncommon to see a seashell here in the middle of the desert, right? Because it came, eventually, or many years ago, or even in the mountains, you can see seashells, which is amazing, because essentially what happens is the dirt on the Earth's surface eventually moves around through an earthquake, or a volcano takes dirt from way down below. Not dirt, but I mean, it's molten lava, but essentially it becomes dirt and rocks, and then it pushes it up, and then this dirt here gets crushed into another one, or goes down and eventually gets melted, and then the whole cycle goes up again. So all the rocks here, if you study geology at all, I only had one geology course, but it was one of my favorite courses, is when you look at rocks and you think, yeah, that's right, yeah. In the Mojave, we went to school to find trilobites. Wow, used to be underwater. Is that right? The Mojave was underwater. I didn't know that. Okay, yeah, makes sense. I'm in Las Vegas, here in an empty lot, and just kind of looking at it. Now, this stone here, I don't think this stone is from this area. I think that stone there is from some kind of a, I don't think it was like from this dirt here. I think that stone was they dug that up, because they use that stone a lot in decoration around here. So if you go to any development, they'll have a lot of that stone that they'll use as decoration for the entryway or for buildings, things like that. So it's interesting. Like, have you guys ever looked at a mountain, and then you see like different colors in the mountain, like green and brown, and then those are different sediment layers, right? Which tell us about the history of the earth. What was happening in that area, right? I'm in, MGTOW Maven. I'm in Vegas. Got here a couple months ago. I need to be back. The case for starting a business here is strong. You should check out Death Valley. Dante's Peak is awesome, and also Badwater Basin. Dante's Peak and Badwater Basin. Okay, I will. Yeah, no, I'm very interested in MGTOW Maven. I'm very interested in starting a business here, and that's what I'm working into. That's what I'm looking into right now, is something that I think is very needed in this area. So I don't want to say what it is and what the project is, but I think we're still working on the very beginning of it. So we'll see how this goes, and this will be my little private thing. Happy to keep you guys updated. It's starting a business is one of the coolest things you guys can do, man. I'm telling you, you want to do something in this world, don't fucking work for someone else. You work for someone else, then like, you're their slave. You have to do shit you don't want to do. It's like being an actor. You got to repeat the lines that you fucking don't like, right? Let's see here. Here's you're the Maven. MGTOW Maven. That's awesome, man. Look at you can see here. You can see that the water was here, right? Can you see the water? How the water moves? That's kind of like the surface of Mars. They know there's liquid because there's this kind of you can see this type of right here. You can see that right there. That you can tell very, very clearly that liquid moved along the surface there and created this this pattern. So along the surface of Mars has this type of pattern. Now that can also be created by wind, but they believe that there is some kind of liquid on the surface of Mars. They don't know what it is. I can't remember what it was. Maybe they do know, actually. I'm not sure. But they don't know if it's water. I know that. They're not sure. But they know there was some kind of liquid on Mars. And speaking of curiosity, man, I tell you I don't know what makes you guys curious. You know, what sparks your curiosity when you start thinking about something? I'll tell you, one of the things that really fucking makes me curious is I read a lot about the moon of Jupiter called Europa. And Europa is a really interesting planet. And what it is it's next to the largest, it might be Saturn. Yeah, Saturn's moon, Europa, sorry. And what it is, Saturn is so freaking huge that when the moon goes around it, every day, you know how the tide changes on the Earth because the gravity from the moon pulls the ocean, right? That's amazing, right? Well, on Saturn is so huge, and the moon of Europa is so small in comparison, and the gravity is so strong. What it does is it pulls the rocks. So every day when the moon goes around Saturn, the rocks move, and what that does is creates heat, and that melts the water and then creates an ocean. So what you have on Europa is you have a water core. Well, you probably have some kind of solid core, but there's water, and then there's 2 miles of ice, and then you have the surface, right? So what's interesting about that is the Europeans made a spacecraft to go up there, and it's going to drill through the 2 miles of ice, and the Europeans strongly believe that it's going to be the first time they're going to find life on other planets is going to be on the moon, Saturn's moon, Europa, because those moving rocks every day create heat, which melts the water, the ice, and creates water. And so you have these huge oceans, and you have heat, and you have oxygen, right? You have water. Water is H2O, right? So you have very, very likely you have life on the Europa. So the Europa really gets me curious. Whenever I start thinking about something like getting my curiosity going, I think about the moon of Europa, and I think, man, I wonder what it's like up there. You know, I can't wait until they drill into that moon up there and figure out what's underneath there, because I'm guessing there's a vent, and I think it's in Marianas Trench, the lowest part of the ocean, and there's a vent that has heat coming out of it, right? And next to that vent, life evolved, and the life that is next to that vent is exactly the same as life on Earth, except for the fact that it's a little bit different because there's like shrimp, but they evolve with no color. They're completely clear. So it's like this. It tells you that life, because there's no way that life swam down to the bottom of the Marianas Trench. So the scientists are sure that this is one of the 2 other locations in life where life evolved in a separate environment. So life evolved next to this vent, and then also there's certain caves that have never been opened for millions of years, and that there is some life in there, and those creatures evolved separately than life on the planet, on the surface of the planet, right? So it's quite interesting for me. Like, I want to see what's on the moon of Europa when they drill through the 2 miles of ice. Like, what kind of life is going to be there? Is it going to be the same? Is it going to look like, you know what I mean? Is it going to look like shrimp? Is it going to look like lobster? Is it going to look like fish? Or is it going to look totally different? I'm guessing it's going to look very similar, because I think that the forces of evolution are creating something that is almost essentially inevitable. Not exactly, because obviously there can be unexplained, like there can be comets, there can be earthquakes and things that can disrupt standard evolution, but I still think that there's going to be a good chance that the life on Europa is going to look very similar to life on the planet, and I think that's fucking cool. Okay, let me read some comments. AI and robot body could create AI smarter, the moon or Uranus. We should colonize the moon. Yeah, for sure. The Chinese are planning on colonizing the moon with the Europeans together. They've got a plan, and they're going to 3D print all the buildings up there. So what they're going to do, it's a very, very good plan, is what they're going to do. The Chinese is they're going to take something on the moon. Okay, like imagine I take this dirt, right, and I put water on it, and I make a house, a mud house, right? So I don't have to bring the dirt over here. I can just add water to it, and then I can make bricks, and I can make a mud house, right? They kind of have the same strategy on the moon, the Chinese. They want to take the whatever, you know, earth that it is on there, whatever material, and they want to put it into a 3D printer, add something to it, and make buildings on the moon using mostly stuff that comes from the moon. So you don't have to carry so much shit up there, right? So basically 3D print buildings using mostly 90% stuff that's actually on the moon naturally. So that, to me, that's brilliant, because otherwise you got to carry all that shit up there. And let's face it, that it's expensive to bring stuff to space. So not easy, right? Oh yeah, you learned that you're studying 3D printing. Oh dude, 3D printing is amazing. I'm a fucking massive fan of 3D printing. You know what, if you want to search something interesting, search 3D printed house. And there's a Chinese company that's making 3D printed house, and there's a guy who made a 3D printed castle in his backyard. And you can see the news documentary on him, and he was contacted by Disney, and they want him to use his technology to make the next Sleeping Beauty's castle. So 3D print the castle using his technology. So yeah, 3D printed houses. I'm super interested in 3D printing. Absolutely. 3D printed jet parts, 3D printed houses, and I think eventually 3D printed. Do you know graphene? You probably know graphene, right? The material graphene. Graphene is super interesting. It's the only material. It's stronger than, I think it's 7 times stronger than steel, I believe, and it's more flexible, and it also conducts electricity. So graphene is really the material of the future for many things, anything from water filters to computer chips to construction. If they can, the problem they're having is mass producing graphene, but as soon as they solve that one, we're going to have graphene. I believe we're going to have graphene 3D printed bridges and houses. Graphene is so strong that a 1 atom thick sheet, okay, you can put an elephant standing on a pencil and he will not break through that sheet. So that's how strong graphene is. Graphene is by far the strongest material known to man. I don't know if graphene is strong enough to make a space elevator. I don't think so. I think they need something even stronger to make a space elevator where we won't need rockets anymore. We're just going to have a big elevator. Then you get off and you're already in a weightless environment, and you can just float away. They're going to do that, but it's going to be probably something other than graphene. But they're getting there. Graphene is badass, no doubt about it. And 3D printing is badass. 3D printing is fucking amazing. Have you guys been reading about 3D printing? Let's see. What's this? Reading the comments here. Actually, in my case, I've been dealing with it. Yeah, no, in NYC, Korean MGTOW, I've seen people saying stuff about you. It's crazy, man. Don't worry about it, dude. Hey, you're awesome, man. Don't fucking worry about it. And you're on the game, man. I'll tell you something, what happened to you is really interesting, because it doesn't matter who did it or whatever, that doesn't matter. Whenever you do something in life, you upset the apple cart, and so you're always going to have people, and this is not a dig at who you're disagreeing with right now. That it's not. It's just the way it is. So, and it's the same with them. It's the same with me. Same with anybody. Whenever you succeed and you start to, get more visibility, you're going to have people that won't like it, and that they're going to attack you, right? So, like for example, with my new project that I'm working on here, I'm not going to say what it is, but I know that project is going to displace some other businesses if it's successful. So I know that having a successful business is fun and exciting, but you also have problems because whenever you succeed, you're displacing another business and another guy who has a family who's supporting through his business, and you're always pushing that aside. And it's kind of the same as plants, right? Like if you look at these plants here, okay, let's look at these plants. Let's look a little closer. Okay, so we got little plants like this, right? Like that one there, okay? And then we got bigger plants like this. So what happens is when these little plants down there, when they're growing, and then let's say they're growing over here, okay, they don't get enough sunlight because this bigger plant is stronger. And so he grows up, and then the smaller plants, they either move by, wind and seeds moving or whatever to a place where they live, or they die off, right? So with a business, when you come in, if you're successful like a big plant, you're going to block the sunlight for other businesses. So, being successful it's fun, it's exciting, but you also have to deal with real life stuff, and sometimes you're going to disrupt and destroy other businesses. That's not my favorite part of business, to be honest. I don't get super excited about destroying other people's businesses, but I do think that progress has to be made, whether it's technology, whether it's space travel, cell phones. And I think that in the end, things kind of work out. They work out pretty well. So it's important that people are curious. It's important that men wanted to go to the moon. It's important that men wanted to split the atom. It's important that men wanted to they wanted to understand electricity, and then to capture electricity, and then to use that. And that's what made our modern life possible, is the curiosity of man. It really is, and I think it's super important. And so in that process, old businesses, buggy whips, got killed by cars, right? And that's natural. That's just the way it is here. Let me go back and read some comments. Let's see. No debt, no. Yeah, you have no debt, no wife. I said, let's see here. Reverend said, I know there are guys who I work with who hate us because I have no debt, no wife, and no kids. Absolutely, absolutely. People will be jealous if you're unblockmailable and you're living a great life. People that are not having such a great life, they will be jealous, and it's kind of a natural feeling. You have to have a little bit of sympathy for them, because it's like if I'm paralyzed. Let's say that today I'm standing out here and some truck comes and hits me, and I get paralyzed from the waist down. Okay, I'm going to be jealous of other guys walking around. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what I do, I'm human. You know what I mean? So if I get paralyzed, I can guarantee you that I'm going to be looking out the window at some guy having a fucking great time playing sports, running around, jumping in the Olympics, climbing a mountain, and I'm going to be sitting there looking at my fucking wheelchair going, oh man, like, I'm going to be, you know what I mean? No matter how disciplined I am, I'm going to be jealous. So you have to have a little bit of sympathy for the haters, because it is kind of a natural thing. It's part of the whole thing. We all have it. We all have faults. We have every bad thing that everybody else has. We have a tinge of it, and accepting that and fighting against that and not allowing that to take over your life is one of the key reasons that separates successful guys and unsuccessful guys. Unsuccessful guys tend to black and white. He's wrong, I'm right. It's not like that. Life is very, very complicated. We're wrong all the time. I have things in my videos that I've said that I disagree with. Afterwards I thought about it. I thought, oh, you know what? I don't think I was looking at it clearly. I don't think I saw the full picture. Or, you know what I mean? I think whatever. And so even the things that we express and create, later on we're going to want to revise, because we're going to have a more balanced viewpoint, a more wise viewpoint of that situation. But that being said, it's people willing to take that risk and create shit. The very first computers, they were like massive. The IBM computers, they were huge, and they didn't even have the processing power of the phone that I'm recording on right now. So, these things were like massive and super expensive. So that early learning and expression and creation is key to get to the next stage, to the next stage. So it's okay to be wrong, guys. It is fucking definitely okay to be wrong. In fact, being wrong is a key step in being right. There's no way that you can be right. You're going to be wrong if you're trying to create something new. There is one way to be right all the time, and that's to always look at things in the past and never do anything new and never take any risks. And you have a greater chance of being right. So it's not about being right. It's definitely about It's about taking that risk. And like NYC Korean MGTOW is like letting people criticize you. And in that criticism, here's the thing, this is probably unpopular to say, but some of that criticism is going to be accurate, you know? And that's one of the painful things about creating, is that when you create stuff, thank you, thanks Tony. That's really nice of you, man. You know, so when you get criticized, this is a great experience for you, because when you get criticized, some of the criticism they're giving you is going to be useful. Even if they're total dicks, whoever it is. I don't know who it is, but it doesn't matter. It could be a very nice person, a very mean person. It could be a woman, it could be a man, it could be a famous person, not famous. It really doesn't matter, because their criticism is going to help you, because some things are going to be accurate, and that's the things you really want to think about. When someone criticizes me, when someone criticizes you, you have to look at it. You say, wait a second, what if this person's right? You know, even if it sucks, right? What if they're right? And then how can I improve myself? And it's a golden opportunity to see your own faults and to improve yourself. So anytime someone criticizes you, what they're doing is they're really helping you. You know, I tell you, one of the worst fucking things you can ever have is have a bunch of yes men around you, where everybody tells you you're great. Everybody tells you you're right. Everybody agrees with you. This is the sure path to destruction. And this is what happens to many successful guys, is once they get successful, you know, when you're not successful, you can't choose who you're around. You know, you have to just be around whoever is around. You got to work for them, or you got to, you know what I mean, deal with things, right? Once you get rich, like I know somebody who's very rich and they can tell their family to fuck off, right? But that also sets them on a lonely road where they are not in touch with their family, right? So the family knows you the best, right? They know, they grew up with you. They know your faults. They know your good points. And they're an important asset in your future, even if they're not perfect, right? So that's one of the problems is when you get too successful, you can cut out people you don't like. You can stop listening to people. You can build a wall around you. And this is what happens if you read any Shakespearean drama or any like old Chinese philosophy. They're going to have these guys who like kings and stuff, and they create a world where they're always right, where everybody around there always tells them they're right. And when that happens, that's the downfall of their power. It's the downfall of their life. Often it's the death of them, because they get killed. They make huge mistakes, and they don't know how to fix it, because nobody around them is giving them accurate information. Everybody's lying to them, right? So whenever someone criticizes you, don't take it too seriously. I mean, listen to it and you know, look at yourself, because in the end, it's not about them. It's all about you. They're handing you an opportunity to learn about yourself. Now, sometimes the criticism is not going to be accurate, right? And that's when you have to look at it. Don't be scared where you're like able to take criticism like a man and like listen to it and think about it and say, you know what? This fucking sucks, but that guy's right. This fucking sucks. I want to shoot everybody, but that guy's fucking right. This is one of those most manly things you can ever do. I'm telling you, this is one of the greatest things a man can do. This is what separates losers and winners. It really does. Is the ability to say, I'm wrong, that guy's right, and I'm going to change. You know what I mean? And I'm going to publicly say I was wrong. That's a fucking, if you can go the next step and publicly say you're wrong and that the other guy's right, this is a beautiful thing. And this is how you can turn an enemy into a friend. Because when you change, when you allow in this unwanted information, which is accurate, and you actually are able, you're confident enough to listen to it, and you're confident enough to look at yourself, and you're confident enough to say, oh my God, I'm wrong, that guy's right, or like part of it was right, this part was right, this part was right, I'm going to change, I was wrong on these 2 points. And then the ability to change, that can change a hater into a lover. Somebody who says, you know what, that guy is amazing. Like, I criticized him because I hated him and I tried to destroy him, and then he listened to me and he fucking took my advice. And there he is living a better life. That's very attractive. So you can actually change people. You can actually change fucking people, because you're the man who can handle it. You're a fucking man. You're a leader. You're a fucking leader, a self-healing, improving, open-minded, not full of ego, not full of pride, intelligent man who is not too sensitive, who can handle this criticism and can make changes and can publicly say so. This is a beautiful thing. I'm telling you, this is what separates great men from average men. And so when someone criticizes you, look at it very closely, because sometimes the criticism is accurate. It really is. A lot of times, and that's how haters get in, is because they have something accurate that is about you that is maybe not too attractive, and then they just keep hammering on it because they know you're not going to change. But when you fucking listen and you actually change, this is what kills the haters, because what can they say? It's like they're like your free coach, right? They're helping you to improve your life. You're like, hey, thanks, man. You were fucking right about that. Oh, I was wrong about that. And in fact, I changed you doing this and this and this. And then here's what happened in my life. This guy, I got more friendly with this guy, and I realized my mistake on that. And I like go to sleep better at night. You know, fuck, that kind of stuff just kills haters, because they're like, oh my God. Like they can't hate you. They're like, this guy's amazing, you know, and that also teaches them a valuable lesson too, because if everybody always attacks them when they attack somebody and doesn't listen, that's how like wars get started. That's how bad blood never ends. You know, whenever you hear about these like family feuds for generations, or you hear about the Palestinian Israel, you know, whatever, any kind of ongoing conflict that never ends, it's because the two sides, they could be, let's just go down to like two families in Alabama or something, never could admit the truth about things. And of course, the only thing they can do is fight back and spit poison. And that doesn't help them, right? So I think NYC Korean MGTOW, I think you have a great opportunity. I think you've been signaled out. You've been chosen, right? You've been fucking chosen. And when you're attacked like that, that tells you that you are gaining influence as a human. People are listening to you, you know? And that's why you got on the radar of other people. So take it as a compliment. And my highest recommendation is to think about what they said. Write it down. Show it to your friends. Don't tell them who said it. Don't put it down. Ask your friends, is this true about me? You know what I mean? Am I doing this? Is this me? Is this what I've become? And your friends will say, well, you know, we didn't want to tell you. That's fucking awesome, because that's when you say, oh my God, this is good information, okay? And the thing is, you don't have to like it. And you don't have to change quickly. I'm not saying any of that stuff. And you don't have to tell anybody if you don't want to. But I think when I look at the criticism of myself, if you look back on my comments, a lot of times people have said, like, one of my videos was cheap sex, yeah. And what happened was that video sucks, okay. But I made it, and then I stopped making. I was recording it, and then I thought, this sucks. I stopped, and then when I got home, I went out. I came back, and I forgot that I hadn't finished it. So I thought I had done it, so I uploaded it, even though it wasn't finished. And then I uploaded it, and I thought, oh shit, that was the one I didn't want to upload. But then for some reason, maybe because the title is Cheap Sex, it got a lot of views. And so some guy wrote on there, he says, this thing is illogical, doesn't make sense, you're rambling. And I wrote back on my comments like several times, and I said, yeah, it's true. You know, thank you very much for noticing, and you know, you're right. I accidentally mis-uploaded this, but it got so many views, I left it up, you know. And the thing is, that gave me enormous satisfaction, because, hey, they were fucking right. I don't like that video. Maybe somebody likes it, I don't like it. You know, I'd rather redo that one. But me admitting that I'm not perfect and leaving it up there to be not perfect is all right. You know, that's my chance. That's my opportunity to learn and to grow. You know, and those guys, they might not know it, but they're helping me a lot. You know, because they're helping me get over my, you know, always being right kind of syndrome that every man has. Inside it, we all have it, you know. It's like it's part of our human nature, you know, and it's only our critics can help us to get over it, you know. Only our critics, man. Oh yeah, NYC, yeah, for sure he is. You should make a video. Hey, why don't you be on a podcast? I would love to interview you, NYC. Baby, you want to do it? You let me know. Send me a roninmgtow@gmail.com. Send me a message. I'd love to interview you about what you learned from this whole controversy, if you would like that, because I would love to help you to dig in there, you know. Oh, you're on? No way. Oh, okay. Hey, can you put the link? You were on Howard Dare Steering. Can you put the link on after this video goes live? I mean, goes up permanently. Can you put the link up there? Because I'd love to watch it, and I'd love that other people can watch it too. That sounds really cool. Really cool, man. That's super cool, dude. That's awesome. I'd love to hear what you learned and what you know, if anything was true, you know, because my experience has been criticism like, let's say there's 100 points in criticism. Always 20 are true. Always for me. And that's what hurts the most. You know what I mean? Like, I'll be trying to do something good for other people, and then 20% will be fucking totally wrong. And then I'll be like, and I feel like I shouldn't admit this because the 80%, you know, like, was right. And I tried to do this and I tried to do that, and then the truth is the 20% was wrong, and the guy is absolutely right about the 20%. Of course, you know, often the critics are not the people who will give you kudos for what you do right, but they will hate you when you're wrong, and that can be a valuable lesson because some people are too nice to tell you the truth, and that's one huge advantage of critics. They're not too nice to tell you the truth. They will tell you the truth, and sometimes they'll even exaggerate it to make it even worse. And of course that you don't have to take seriously, right? It's anybody's trying to ruin my life or hurt me, you know, something like that, which is not very common. I'm not saying that, you know, but any of those situations, unusual situations, you don't have to listen to. But I found often when I admit I'm wrong, and I admit that why I see that now that I was wrong, and I admit, and I think about, I make changes and I admit it, and I give the person credit publicly for being right about something I was wrong about, and then how it helped me in my life. I've found that turns people around, and I end up with way more friends. And also I end up a way better person, because even if I was 80% right, I was 20% wrong. And that 20% is what kills me. And by being by being defensive about that 20% allows me never to change that 20% and to improve myself. And I think that's one of the key things in life, is to keep moving forward, to keep, you know, and the only way I'm going to keep moving forward is if I find the things that I'm doing wrong and I fix those, and I'm honest about those. And as you get, you know, your life improves more and more, you will have less of those. So that's the good thing. Is the beautiful thing is as you start to face the things that you're doing wrong, and you make amends and you make corrections, you're going to have less of those in the future. So, and also it becomes easier too. Your pride gets less in the way. You're like, oh, okay, I was wrong. You're right. You're fucking right. And in fact, I can see you're right because of this and this and this, and I've done it a million times, and I did it to this and I did it to that, and yet you can see the negative effects and this and that. And the people listening are like, holy shit. And here's the things I'm going to do to change it. I'm not going to do this anymore, and you're completely right, and I thank you very much for telling me. People are like, holy shit. It blows people's minds, you know, because most people are so different. But that's the thing, man. To have a better life, you got to be different. You can't be the average guy. Fuck the average guy. Fuck the guy who left that garbage out there in somebody's fucking, you know, empty lot, right? Fuck that kind of thinking. I'm not into that, man. I want to be the guy who cleans this stuff up, who doesn't leave stuff in other people's lots. You know what I mean? So either way, guys, thanks for listening. And I'm going to put the link below for the video that got me thinking about curiosity. And we went off on other stuff, but that's the usual thing with my brain. That's how my brain works. So thanks for listening, and thanks for sharing. This has been a great fucking stream. It's because of you guys. Thanks for the nice welcome back too, man. Dude, honestly, thanks for the nice welcome back. It's huge. It's fucking huge. All right, I'm going to go watch the Super Bowl. I'm not a huge Super Bowl fan, but I got invited by a very cool, one of my friend's dads, who's a super cool guy from the Philippines. So I'm going to go over and watch it with him, and we're going to see what we can learn. I've been abroad for 28 years, and now I'm in America right now. So yeah, going to be American again here. Going to try this. Have a few hot dogs. All right, guys, have a good Super Bowl Sunday. Thanks for listening, and thanks for participating, man. All right, NYC, thank you very much for allowing me to talk about you, and I can't wait to see your Howard Dare stream. That's fucking great. All right, guys, take it easy.